So this video is kind of going to be a long one. I already know because I've done like my first take of it. I rarely go like the first recording of a video, and I'm hitting 20, 30 minutes easily. So getting right into it, the topic is about survival mode and disappointment, right? And what spawned this is living out of the car, which I currently do. One thing people have said, whether it was on TikTok, because I have a few TikTok videos I did relatively well, speaking on the topic, as well as like YouTube comments, or and whether it was shorts or a regular video, or even just like in my personal life, like speaking on it. One thing people go is like, how do you do it? Like you just, I don't know. I couldn't even live like that. And for you, it's like it seems so easy. Like how? How do you persevere? Like how do you like take care of yourself so well? Like I did a short talking about like back when I wasn't in the gym as much, like me just taking care of my hygiene, like bird bath and using baby wipes and everything else to make sure I stay clean. And somebody had commented, they're like, "You're taking better care of yourself than I do," and I'm like, "Well, it's just how my mentality works for this type of stuff. Even on simple things like me being back in the gym, which I've been for a year, and get my muscle back, dropping the fat. Like I'll just do things like I have cans of tuna and I'm just eating it. I'm eating out a can. I'm just eating a can of tuna or a can of albacore. And somebody personally to me were like, "Bro, how are you eating that without it bothering you?" I'm like, "It's protein, and I need a snack, so I have protein snack. Basically, I'm just primate braining it. Muscle need food. Food got protein. Food good for muscle." And that's it. Like the rest is just, even with the albacore being completely bland, I'm like, I don't care. It's just it's getting the job done. And that mentality is the mentality I have for many things. Just get the job done, right? Come hell or high water, get the job done. Living out of a car, in a way, is what kind of that. Get the job done. I got bills I gotta pay. I don't want to spend like 60% of my income paying damn rent. I want to get these bills down and stuff. I'm gonna just get the job done. I'm gonna be in a car, and it's gonna get me away from everybody, right? What's the job? Pay bills, free my mind of these frustrating ass people that are my family members, mainly my mother. I'm gonna get that job done. Just eliminate the problems and fix the problems I need to fix. Even when I was younger, when things needed to get done, I needed to get somewhere, and I'm like, "Well, this place is like 5 miles. Am I walking? I'm walking. Fuck it." Because I couldn't rely on my mom for things. Like we didn't have a car at that time. If we did have a car, sometimes she might take me and it's cool. Other times it might just be a damn argument for no reason. No, well, you could take the bus, you could do this. I'm like, well, I'm gonna spend money that I don't really have because we're broke when we have a car. Okay, I'm gonna just get the job done. I'm just gonna walk. I gotta wash my clothes. I can't really afford a laundromat, or in my case, I'm not really gonna spend money on a laundromat. I'm just gonna wash my clothes in a tub. Just get the job done. Right. All that for me comes from as a close friend, who basically my brother. He's my brother. We're not blood related, but I call him my brother. Right. As he says, is for me, it comes from disappointment. When it comes to survival mode and living in the type of environment I'm from, inner city. If whoever's watching this, if you're not from the inner city, if you're like from a rural environment, you may be able to relate. Or even people in the suburbs, because not everything is peaches and cream in the suburbs. They're just better at sweeping their shit under the rug. Whatever it is, when you come from an environment where you can't really rely on anybody, where you don't trust anybody, where you've been abused, you know, the way I see it, without like using any academic sources, just going off like my own perspective of it, even if it's just anecdotally, I feel like it puts you in a fight or flight mode, right? Now, life isn't binary in that aspect. Like, there is the tangibles that are in between, but on this simplest form, it's like fight or flight. And what I mean by that is you're going to fight and do what you need to do. You're going to bust your ass, come hell or high water, which isn't always the most positive things, right? Or you're just going to give in and probably become somebody that has crazy anxiety, relies on substances, a drug addict, becomes a drug addict, right? Maybe become hypersexual, maybe ends up in like bad relationships, do things that make you feel good for whatever. And now I'm not saying that doesn't happen to people who fight like hell, because it absolutely does. But that's just like the simplest way I can divide the two, even though life is really a gray and things are usually in between. Like some of the people I know who have a crazy work ethic, like my bro, who I talked about in the video out there being no job security, doesn't end in the best of relationships. But he comes from the same environment I come from, probably worse, because where I come from, an environment of disappointment mentally, he comes from an environment of physical abuse, right? And same with a lot of people that we know, that we've been around, people who have been, that have been touched by family members and things. I'm trying to say this in ways where the algorithm doesn't try to limit this video, right? People who've been, dealt with the worst of things. So getting to this, I'm going to speak about myself and then try to wrap everything around to survival mode, right? My background is one of disappointment. My father went to prison. By the time I was born, my father was in prison. I have nothing bad to say about him, by the way. My father, me and him get along very well. Very well. It's just the life he was living, things he was doing, ended up going to prison. So with that, I lived with my mom. My mom had me when she was 21. Yeah. My mom had me when she was 21, so me and her are 21 years apart. So our relationship hasn't been the best. The divide started very early, actually, to be honest with you. And I'm going to go into all this, so breaking this down is going to take some time, just letting y'all know now. So I could really like paint the picture of what's kind of helped create my mentality, as well as some of it just being genetics, but more importantly on how, like, people being stuck from survival mode and stuff, right? So me and my mom didn't get along early. My memory goes back to when I was like 3 years old. I remember when I like spawned into consciousness, as the joke is today with Gen Z. And with that, my first moment of disappointment that I could remember was when my mom was buying jewelry, because she always loved buying jewelry. Jewelry and shoes were the things that she would buy. Regardless of what was happening, she would make sure she had her jewelry and shoes, which was stupid because as we got older, she would always pawn it. She'd pawn off her jewelry to get money because she wasn't being financially responsible, which would affect us. But that's later. Jewelry and shoes. And I'm like, I want to say I'm like 5 years old, right? Somewhere around there. And, kids observe everything. Kids notice everything. So the first thing I say, kids notice everything. They observe everything. And one time we were in my great-grandparents' house. So we lived in Philly until I was 3 going on 4. A week before then, a week before me turning 4 years old. And then we moved to my great-grandparents' house in Jersey, right? And I lived in that house until I was 14 years old. And then we moved because my great-grandparents had passed and then nobody could afford the house and all that stuff. But we were living over here in Jersey. I'm like 5 years old, and I questioned her on that because I noticed her always having a jewelry. And as kids being kids, and instantly, just asked, why doesn't she just save her money instead of just buying jewelry? And her response of me was just to dismissively tell me to mind my business. Now, that might not seem like much, but putting that into the words of an adult, right, at me at 32 years old, the words, or what I make sure this person wasn't hitting my car, all right, the feelings that I experienced then would pretty much be, well, damn, that's how you feel, right? As a kid, I did not know how to express how I felt. But that was basically how I felt, because it was just so dismissive when me asking that. Damn, can I record this video? What now? Fucking Mustangs. Gotta take a pause break. Gotta close my windows. Windows are closed. One of the best things about my car is that it has cabin dampening, baby. But getting back to it. To respond so dismissively to your child, isn't the best way to build a close relationship, because kids don't forget. Kids watch and kids observe. And I remember being a kid. That's why when I speak to kids, whether I'm babysitting or, at my side security job, have to talk to a child or things, I talk to them how I would want to be talked to, because I remember those days. But a moment like that, goes forever, especially when that moment was many moments. So I'm going to give a few more, right? One time we went to go see my cousins, which is my cousins on my dad's side, right? And we had my grandma, who is my grandma on my dad's side. So we drive to Philly, pick up my grandma, and then we're gonna go to my cousins. My cousins living in the hood. I'm gonna try to paint a little picture of it. In fact, this little picture I'm trying to paint is going to be very important for a future story that I'm gonna tell later in this video. So the way I could describe it, even though it's gonna be flipped, is it's like it goes like this. The road goes like this, and then it turns up, right? And it's the projects. So cousins live like, if it turns up, cousins live like down here. So it'd be a bunch of houses down there. So mom goes, parks right here, blah, 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 and has me go to go get my cousin. So I hop out the car, go around, and go down, right? I remember running up there, still about like maybe 5 years old, maybe 5 or 6, 5 or 6 before the summer of 98. Very important, because summer of 98 was awful for me. But I remember running down and, go knock on the cousin's door, tell them that the grandma's here to see them, because the cousin's on my dad's side, grandma's on the dad's side. That means the uncle, that's my uncle's mom. And tell them that they're here, blah, 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 and cool. And then they're like, all right, cool. Whatever the conversation was. So then I go leave and I go to run back to the car to let them know, all right, that they know, yada, 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 whatever I was going to go say or do. And I run back and I go and I get up to here. I'm coming down. I know I'm out of the screen, so I'm running down, blah, 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 blah. Get to here, which the corner stuff over here. And the car is fucking gone. Look this way, look that way. Car is gone. There is no car. My mom and grandmother are gone. And I just remember standing there, looking at the afternoon sun glare coming off the road that was going this way. And it was just like, it was just pure disappointment. It was just betrayal. You could have just told me you were dropping me off. I'm not stupid. You didn't have to trick me like this. Kids don't forget shit like that. They truly don't. Those were the beginnings of the rift that would be me and my mom's relationship. Summer 06 would be like the first strike of the hammer. Summer 06, my mom and my grandparents got into an argument, mainly her and my great-grandfather. And speaking of my great-grandfather, he was a good guy, but he was also an alcoholic. He was good and non-violent when he wasn't drunk. When he was drunk, he'd always chase me around the house trying to beat me. Never actually succeeded in that. It's a weird experience, right? And he was trying to beat me for the things I didn't do. That was actually say. He would actually say, he's like, that boy is bad. And he's like, what did he do? And he'd be like, what didn't he do? That type of stuff. It's so weird. It's so fucking weird. But he was a great guy when he wasn't drunk, right? And then I would run to my great grandma and she'd like, stop messing with that boy. And that was like the common experience. It's funny to laugh about now because it's like, it's so weird when you think about it. It's so not normal, but it was normal. Anyways, my mom and my great grandfather got into a fight, an argument, and she decided she's gonna move in with my cousins, the same cousins where she dropped me off and left me, tricked me, right? I didn't want to go. as a kid, I already knew I have no part in this. Like, this isn't my argument. This is your fight. Y'all are arguing with each other. I don't want to go with you. And I'm saying that because, my mom being a mom, she's going to want to take her child with her. And my great grandfather's like, leave the child here, leave the boy here. It's like, if you're going to leave, you leave. He doesn't have to go with you. And she's like, no, that's my son. He's going to go where I'm going to go. In my head, I'm like, I don't want to go. I want to go with them. I want to stay here. I want to stay where it's safe. I want to stay where my friends are. No, there's no reason for me to go with you. And now, obviously, being 6 years old at the time, I have no say of any of this. A mom's going to do what a mom's going to do. But even at that age, another water break because I'm talking a lot. But even at that age, I knew, this wasn't for me. Like, I don't need to be here with you. Like I said, and the trust me and my mom had was already like slowly fractured. I didn't know it then. I know it now. But that trust was fractured. Later, like, I would never really talk about my mom. I was never really happy around her. I never really invited her to school events. And this is from like 8, 9, 10 years old, right? I just always stayed separate from her. I was my mom's child to her, but to me, she was just a mother, And it would get worse as the years would go on. But going back to that story, I knew I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to go, as a kid. Did not want to go. We go. One of the first things that happened to me there is, and I don't know if it was, like, thinking back on it now, I'm not sure if it was malicious or not. From a younger age, I always felt it was malicious. Like, I always felt it was malicious. Always felt it was on purpose. Always felt, they were trying to harm me. Now, maybe it was just kids being mean kids, but it left a mark. So, one day we're outside, it's me and my cousins and their friends, and they want to play, right? And by playing, it's mainly chasing me around and messing with me. And I guess it's because, one, I'm my dad's son. I'm the only child out of him and his 3 brothers. So out of all my grandmother's 4 kids, I'm my father's only son. The other ones had multiple kids, but not my dad. He only had me, and then obviously went off to prison, right? And I guess my grandmother treated me special because of that, because my dad and his brother, mainly my dad though, was the one person who always really looked out for my grandmother on my dad's side. We'll just call her Penny, Grandma Penny. He's always the one that looked out for Grandma Penny, right? And so she treated me special on things, especially when we would go over her house and stuff. And other things, I was always the kid that didn't act out, silent, observant, well behaved, somewhat. I was great at hiding what I was doing, but for the most part, very well behaved, while the other kids were rowdy and rambunctious. And maybe it was jealousy. Who knows? But either ways, we're outside playing and blah, 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 blah. And they have a water hose, and they're like trying to get me under the water hose. And I don't want to get under the water hose because for me, this doesn't feel like I'm having fun. I was not having fun. This feels malicious. This felt mean. What ended up happening is that I was essentially waterboarded. So they finally got me. They were able to get me, and they wrestled me down. And as close as I have this microphone, I have a full hose, not with any attachment on it. It's just a hose, water hose, which is hitting me in the face with water and just like really trying to get that in there to the point I started choking on it. I visibly remember that shit. And fight or flight took over, and I was flighting, as they would say in Mike Tyson's Mystery, flailing, punching, kicking, and whatnot. And I end up being able to wrestle myself out, escape, and run. And I run to the house or the apartment, right? Run inside, still fucking choking up water. Get inside, and the first thing my uncle says before I can even get anything out is to go back outside and play. And it's like, are you? Huh? Are we being serious right now? I am distressed. I am choking. I am like, whoa. And that's the first thing I hear. I'm like, oh. I don't remember anything else from that day. I definitely didn't play it. I think I just isolated myself. Stayed as isolated as possible, right? My other experience I had is I got hit by a car. Similar type experience. Fire hydrant is being ran. So that picture I painted earlier, where it's like this, the fire hydrant is across the street and it's spraying into the street, right? And cousins are chasing me around. Of course, it's me, because I'm the one that's always, and trying to get me in a fire hydrant. Once again, I don't want to go. I don't want to play with y'all. I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to be here. And I'm running. I'm trying to run away from them. And then I end up running this way. And if the street's right here, fire hydrant's right there, I'm like trying to zigzag, juke, run into the street, get smacked by a car immediately. Nothing broke. So either the person wasn't going too fast or they hit the brakes. Whatever it was, I didn't break anything. But at the same time, the direction I was running and the spot I picked myself up from the ground were not the same. I was going this way, and then I was looking at the grill of a car, like 2 or 3 feet away from it, from the spot where I was at. So yeah, probably just got lucky, honestly. What ended up happening is me and my cousin got a whooping for that, and my cousins kind of kept that a secret from my mom, right? So all of us got beat, including me, for me getting hit by a car because my cousins are chasing me. Yeah, that good old school punishment. Very effective. If you can't tell, I'm still angry about that now. There was more stuff that happened, right, during that summer where I just felt miserable because I felt bullied. Like I had a chain that was mine that was stolen by one of my cousins. Their friends, always felt being stared at. Basically, I felt like it was being picked on and was going through things, and I just did not feel like I belonged. And the entire time I'm like, this is your fault. You brought me here. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be home, at my house, with my grandparents, where I was safe. Even when my great-grandfather chased me around occasionally when he was drunk. He was only really drinking at night, right? And it wasn't always happening. But even with that, I was safe there. I'm not safe here, and you caused this, right? It was to the point that one day when my mom finally decided to leave, we left like 4 o'clock in the morning. She just wanted to just get out of there. Those type of things would be the rift. Those type of things that result in disappointment. And knowing the person who's supposed to have your best interest is a person you kind of can't rely on. It would get worse when my sister was born. Because when my sister was born, and there's a family friend that lives behind us when I was in my great-grandparents' house in Burlington. And these are homes, not apartments, these are actual homes. So around the corner, basically behind us, is a family friend and her grandson. And around probably like 12 or whatnot. Well, 12, me and my sister are 7 years apart. But yeah, somewhere around that time, whatever. There was a period where we were talking, and the family friend, who was an older woman, she, told me like those things would happen, that my mom was going to start favoring my sister more than me. And it wasn't her like trying to create division, but it was like, it's her from experience and stuff and whatnot, and look out for. Basically just giving advice. Like, she isn't a perfect woman either. Nobody's perfect, right? She had her faults, has her faults, but it takes a village to raise a kid, Everybody has their issues. Everybody has their faults. So I'm not saying anything bad about this person, because this person is still important in my life, and I have a lot of respect for them. But she kind of warned me of that, right? And those things were happening. But before I even go into that, like, the rift between me and my mom was getting bad over the years. I kind of really stopped listening to her. I would start tuning her out. We would begin to argue. Even as like 9 years old, we would be arguing. And at that age, 9 to 10, is like when I slowly started setting my foot down on, I'm not listening to you because you do dumb things. You do stupid things. You say you're going to do things and you don't do them. You say you're going to get your degree for this, you're going to be a radiology tech, and then you don't do them, right? I've already had those previous experiences of like just disappointment, being dismissed or whatnot, right? But now the other things, the other habits, I'm starting to notice more of, like false promises. Whether it's towards me or even things she would just say, just the occasional, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to start making money doing this, I'm going to follow my dreams and just never do them. And slowly you begin to lose respect for a person, right? You already don't really trust them, but that trust is dividing. Your respect for them is also getting, getting bad. By the way, this isn't me. This isn't a therapy session. Like I said, I'm gonna make all this make sense. It's going to take a while. You begin to lose respect for that person, and then obviously you have more things that happen. Getting put on punishment for something I may have actually done, or something, or my mom doing something like having lashes of anger. Where one time I was supposed to pick my sister up, and then she told me not to, and then forgets, and I come home and like all my video game controllers are broken. Now, obviously, she bought them because I didn't really have money like that. Because the only time I had money is when I was shoveling snow and things. But like, you break all of them. You don't forget things like that. It's just like, you're emotionally immature. Didn't know that was the term at that time, but I knew it. When you don't know how to describe something, but you know it at the same time, because you're experiencing it. Basically that, right? In fact, there was a time when I want to say maybe 11, 12. Because I'm older and we have a computer. So I want to say maybe around 11, 12. Wasn't 13 yet. 11, 12, we'll go with that, right? There was a time when my mom, we weren't getting along. And she came up with this grand plan. Like, we're going to do something. Also, another water break because my mouth is getting dry. Always have water on you. I've been doing this for like the last 10 years. I always have gallon jug or jugs of water. Normally I would just refill them. Obviously, the whole living in car thing, I can't really refill them, so I just gotta keep rebuying them, right? Anyways, she came up with this grand plan for us to repair a relationship, and we both had parts. We had our responsibilities that we had to handle, like, because I wasn't really listening as much anymore. Definitely wasn't really doing homework. I mean, you guys, they encourage a kid that they already knew was intelligent, who picked up the things fast, to have critical thinking. And the first thing I realized is, if I'm acing tests, why am I doing the homework that leads up to phone died? Anyways, as I was saying, encourage a kid to be critical thinker, and then get surprised when it started to backfire because he's critically thinking, right? But anyways, I'm not gonna act like I was this perfect child. I wasn't. I definitely did like what I wanted to do at times and things. But anyways, I'll get back to the point. So my mom came up with a plan on, like, how we could get along, so me doing more of the things I'm supposed to do, right? And stuff, not be so talk backative, combative, because I was definitely becoming more combative at that time, because I'm like, I don't really respect you. And, just other things. And mom would be more reasonable, listen more, not like renege on things. That's what she was good for, making promises and then renege on them, which is why I stopped celebrating like my birthday around the same age. I would stop asking for things. Was developing that habit. Like, stop asking for things, stop, wanting to celebrate things. I wouldn't invite my mom to anything that was like school related or whatnot, if I was even involved, because I just was isolating myself from a lot of stuff, right? Either ways, that was the thing. And I was like, cool. Like, what I say, like 11, 12. So, that's when I'm still believing in my mother. I still believe in her. I do my best to hold my part, try to be a better son. And so, this is a weird way. It's a weird sentence to say, but like, try to be a better son and things. And my mom did none of her behalf. And in fact, we got into an argument sometime later, right? And I brought it up, and I was like, "Oh, what happened to your promise? I've been doing the thing I'm supposed to do, and you're not doing it." Because she's yelling, angry, blah 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 blah. And she says, in her fit of anger, she's like, "Well, you're the child, anyways. I don't have to listen to you." Oh no. She says, "You're the child. I don't have to make promises to you." There we go. So we have like the jury incident. We have the abandonment incident at 5. We have the summer of 06. Which was terrible. We have obviously the things sprinkled in between that I didn't really bring up, because it's like, just the daily motions of life. And then we have this, which I figured, thinking back on it, was a major moment. A major moment, because that's when I'm like, okay, fuck you too. In my head. Didn't say it, but I thought it. This is what we're doing, fuck you too. Because I now am understanding more of the type of person that you are. And as we got older, as I would get older, as my sister would get older, like 7 years apart and whatnot, obviously that would begin to get worse. My mom would become more toxic, more if you don't like it, leave, you know, you don't, yeah, if you don't like it, leave. I'm not going to change. I'm never going to change. You don't have to deal with it. I'm not changing for nobody. That type of stuff when she's angry. Obviously, I was getting the brunt of it. I would become more ostracized. You know, anytime they would come up with like ideas, her and my sister, mainly my mom, obviously, my mom would come up with ideas, and I'm like, that's a terrible idea. Not because I'm trying to be negative, but because I thought it through. I'm a very intelligent person. And I could tell this plan that you came up with is a plan you haven't thought through. You put all your eggs in the basket without having the financial stability for it. It's going to fail. And when it fails, it's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt me, and it's going to hurt my younger sister, right? It would inevitably fail, and we would get hurt by it and things. You know, my sister's still young, so she's not really understanding this, and the family friend that would live around the corner, I think I brought her up. I don't remember what I talked about before the phone died, but if I did, the family friend who lived around the corner would eventually bring up that, you know, me and my sister would that my mom would start favoring my sister, and that was what would happen. So what I began to develop was a I can't trust you mentality. I can't rely on you mentality. I got to do me for me, you know, because you are a liability. And with that, it ends up being in survival mode. Now, obviously, we were broke, so my mom was in survival mode. My sister was just being my sister. You know, she's young. She's learning how to navigate herself, right? But I'm like the outcast of this little family. I'm the outcast that's reliable at that. I'm the reliable outcast. So I'm like the black sheep that everybody turns to when they need like something physical done. Like whether it's, you know, my sister gets into a fight while she's at elementary, whatever, you know, what would be a middle school. And, you know, they call me, and this is when because I was previously a dropout, dropped out at 15, and then, you know, went back to school. So now I'm at my other school, and I have to come down, like immediately leave and go there and like get my sister and like, what's up? Like figure out what's what, right? That type of stuff. I'm the person that y'all can rely on. Y'all don't mind relying on, but I'm also the person y'all ostracize and make the black sheep. I'm the person that, you know, y'all always say is negative and pessimistic and things. The person that you say that doesn't believe in y'all. I don't have a reason to. But when you do that, you know, as I say, you go into survival mode. It reinforces the survival mode that your family's already living. So now, you know, for me, the fight or flight, it goes into just pure fight. Hell or high water, I'm going to do what I need to do. If I can't rely on you, I'm going to make it happen regardless. All right, so we're going to get into I need to get somewhere, and we're going to get into an argument about it because you don't want to take me, even though you have a car. And it's like, I don't really have that much money to spend. Hell, we don't have a lot of money to spend anyways. At least in my mind, I'm like, let's be as fucking frugal as possible, right? To fix all this stuff. All right, fine. You're not going to do that? It's what? 5 miles from here? I'm walking. I'm going to save my money. My body can take it. I got to get somewhere else. Okay, I could take the train down there, and then I could take a bus. Shit, I'm going to have to walk 6 miles from there to there because this location I can't get to. Fuck it, we're walking. We're going to take that bus. Then we're going to take that train. We're going to walk. You know, I need to get this done. I'm going to figure it out. I need to get that done. I'm going to figure it out. You know, I'm going to figure it out because I have to. If I don't, I'm going to be you, and I don't want to be you. Everything I'm learning that I don't like, that I don't want to do, that I can't stand is from you. I'm not doing that. I'm going this way, right? So I become super frugal. I save my money. Stretch like $20. I don't know how I did this as a young teen. I stretched like $20 like 2 months. Can't tell you how I did it. I literally don't remember. You know, I'm extra savvy with like washing my clothes in the tub at times rather than taking it to the laundromat just to save extra cents. As I got older, like one time I was trying to go to a football practice and I'm like, I can't get there, or I didn't really have much money because I'm spending money on my bus pass and things. At that time, I don't even think I was really working that much. It was very sparse. So it was like, I would use Amazon's Mechanical Turk, make just enough money, be able to get on get like the 125 to get on the train, and have enough money when I get back up to get me McDonald's like chicken wrap, back when they had the wraps and things, from the dollar menu, back when the dollar menu did exist. And that type of stuff is what I mean when I talk about survival mode. When you're focusing on survival, I gotta do what I gotta do, how I gotta do it. You know, I would get hand-me-down clothes from my best friend, and who I'm still really close with. Obviously, I would like, they're like, "Oh, you want the most brand new phone?" No, why would I do that? I could just buy a used phone, something cheap with a cheap phone plan. Everything became cheap. What's the cheapest way possible? How can I do this possible? How can I do this without relying on people? How can I get this done? I have to be reliable for myself, because I'm not reliable for myself. I have nobody else to rely on, and things will fail. Things will fail because things are already failing. Shit will hit the fan. Shit's going to hit the fan. Shit has been hitting the fan, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse, and it's going to get even more worse. I see it all coming. I predict it. I have great pattern recognition. How can I do me to protect me? That's survival mode. So when it comes to living in this car and things, some of that comes from that. And overall, when it comes to the environment I come from, as well as my peers, we deal with the same thing. And the issue with that is, it's how people get stuck. Because when you're at least how I see it, seeing people that are so focused on surviving, so focused on working, so focused on getting the things they need to get done. In a way, it's a form of trauma. It's a form of PTSD. My best friend, as I said in the job security video, he will work himself into the ground, and I have to grab him and pull him back and be like, "Yo, calm down. Your body's starting to break. You haven't slept. You're in pain. Just slow down a bit." But work is instilled in him. He has to work. If he doesn't work, things are going to go to hell. Obviously not putting all his other personal business out there, because there's more to it. But that's the gist of it. Same with other peers of mine, even if they're not people I talk to, not people I associate with, but people who are like get stuck in the ghetto, like stuck in the projects, right? Because they are in their own form of survival mode. Some of them went more of the flight route, though. They go for the things that make them happy. They'll still work. They'll raise their kids. They become a single parent, end up having 4 children. Why? Because those generational cycles. Your parents did that. So now you find somebody that makes you feel good, start fucking around, or use condom, bam, you got kids. Now you got to raise them kids. You got to survive, right? While also dabbling some alcohol, some weed, things that dull the pain. It's a cycle. It becomes a cycle. And if you don't have the foresight, or just like the ability to step back, bring kids into this world, and then that cycle continues, and it continues, and that's how we get stuck. Truly, honestly, at least how I see it, how we get stuck in this warped generational traumas of survival mode BS. I always talk about how going to school was great for me, even at the age of 25. Even though I was still stressed, because when I went to school is when we got evicted. I went to school September, we got evicted October, and I saw the eviction coming. I knew it was going to come. That's the reason why I stopped going to my JUCO, and I was like, I gotta just get the hell out of here. Did not know it was going to happen then, but I just know everything was going to end bad because of the things my mom was doing. And yes, I was still home. I probably should have been left home, right? But the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. The devil I didn't know was the outside world. I don't have a lot of money. The money I have working retail and stuff is going to my bus pass, going to, helping out with bills, paying the internet bill when my mom didn't do it, when I'm in school, so I have to take like $390 to pay off her bill, just so then I could pay the rest, a promotional, so we can get internet, so I could do my damn classes, have internet access for my classes at home, stuff like that, right? Crazy shit. But before I start rambling, catch myself. But the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. And that was the outside world. Where am I going to move to, with what funds and how? Right? I'd be better off staying home. Because even though it's toxic with yelling and everything else, at least I know while I'm here, I can get things done. Or so I believed. You know, I know how to navigate this. Or so I believed. You know, I can just persevere. I can rely on myself while staying here. And at least I still always have a roof on my head, because up to that point, my mother was able to keep a roof over her head. I say up to that point for a reason, because even then that would be not be the case anymore. You know, things in my life would, as I got older and started paying attention, they were slow deaths. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. Slowly taking baby steps backwards until there was nothing left. But could not recognize that. Could not really see it. Or did recognize it, but didn't really realize to the extent it was going to go until it almost got there. And then, I would then be like, oh shit, this is bad. And nobody else sees it because actually I'm the bad guy. And so on and so on. When you look around, as I've stated, this is the reality, right? The reality for a lot of us that come from the lower rungs of the socioeconomic ladder. I'm not going to say we were poor, because I've heard stories of people who come from poverty, mainly in southern states like Mississippi, Missouri and whatnot, where you hear some crazy shit on just being poor. We were broke. A little poor too, but not poor. Like, if I was to envision the socioeconomic ladder as a ladder in the American sense, because poverty in America and poverty in other countries ain't the same, even though when you're dealing with it, it doesn't really matter. I would say instead of like the bottom step, we probably would be like 3 or 4, right? The reason why you see so many people who just can't get ahead, don't know how to get ahead, is because we're not taught how to live. We're just taught how to survive. We're taught how to survive through our circumstances, honestly, through all the elements, from family reinforcing it to us us learning from their mistakes, to us just trying to eat, and all the other things in between. We learn how to survive. Some of us get really good at it. Others, don't get good at it. But whether you're good at it or bad at it, we learn how to survive. And nobody escapes unscathed from it. Most importantly, we all get trauma from it. We all have trauma for it. I have trauma from it. Being broke is one of my biggest fears. I never, ever want to be broke again. So to the point where this car I live in doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me because not only do I have freedom, free of mind, and it serves my nomadic nature, but I can afford things. Like, as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult, sometimes I look and I go, damn, I really have a car. I didn't have a car till I was 31 years old. And I don't just have a car. I can afford the car. I can pay for the car. Isn't that just a crazy thought? A lot of people get cars at 18, 19, 20 years old and it's nothing. It took me till 30. It took a lot of my peers to their mid-20s to later 20s to afford a vehicle. Not all of them. Some of them was able to get theirs early, but others didn't. They got them later. I got mine later because I didn't need a car. I started investing in myself and photography and camera gear and things. Right? And even then, I didn't really know what I was doing on how to market myself for things, because you're not taught this. You're not taught how to live. You're only taught how to survive. And a lot of us are stuck in the state of survival. We are stuck in survival modes. We are focused on surviving. That the only thing that really matters is the next day or the next bill or the next drug or multiple, the next day to pay the next bill, to get that next ounce of weed, to de-stress yourself, to cope, so you can focus on the next day, to get to the next bill, or whatever, right? It's messed up. Which brings me to this entire video, like getting to it and starting to wrap it up and things, like bringing it all together. As I feel we have to be aware of that first. We have to be aware that we are in this stuck in this mode of survival, so we can end that. You don't know what you don't know. How do you solve a problem when you're not even aware that the problem exists? Or if you are aware of the problem exists, you can't really put it down into words. Like, you just have fragments of it. Little pieces here, little pieces there, little pieces there. And then wrapping it and putting it all together as one big picture, one big puzzle piece, whatever, is when it starts to make sense. Like for me, when I went off to school is when things really started to make sense. I didn't realize I was in survival mode. I was just surviving, right? I was just in it. I was surviving. I didn't realize I was in that mode. And because of that, I can now advocate it to my friends, the people that I care about, that I still speak to. That's like, we have to get out of that. The goal is to get out of that. The goal is to get in a state of peace and things. But of course, with like the economy and everything else, it doesn't help. The way housing is, it doesn't help at all. Things are expensive. These homes are expensive, mainly because of not mainly, only because of rich people abusing the markets. And it doesn't help with that, because now it just reinforces, being stuck in survival for whatever reasons that may have led up to that. I thankfully have now recognized it, and I have begun to move out of it. Like, being awareness is like the best part of that. Has allowed me to be more free, as I have stated. It's allowed me, to enjoy life a bit more. It's allowed me to go for the things I want, because I always have been a person of dreams, a person who gets shit done. That's why people see me as reliable. That's why, unfortunately, my family took advantage of me being reliable. My mother definitely took advantage of me being reliable, and she admitted it. And argument we had like last year, it wasn't even really an argument. It was me just telling her I'm fed up. I'm done. I don't want y'all in my life anymore. I give up. I'm focusing on me. But in a convo about that, it was actually 2 years ago. This was, leading up to the second eviction. She inadvertently admitted it. And I'm not going to turn this to a therapy session, so I'm not really going to get into that. But that, admitting me being reliable, or knowing I'm reliable, so subconsciously having no issue, putting things on my back from your own decision making. That's what a lot of people who are in as I say, in survival mode, who don't have who end up in it because they don't have stability in their family structure, toxic households, whatnot. Similar things that those people also go through. So the awareness aspect of that helps, at least in my idea, in my belief, can help know this is what's causing this. Damn, this is why I think this way. Damn, this is why, at least like for somebody like me, why I can get things done, because I know if I don't get things done, I sink, and I'm not sinking. I've seen what sinking looks like. And then acknowledging that can beginning to do practices that take that and use it in a more positive direction. So instead of living for survival, instead of being stuck in survival mode, start shifting that towards living more. Because there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference to just doing things to survive and doing things to live. And that's what I wanted to talk about. That was this whole point of this video. I know it was a long one, but I felt like I really had to break it down, like using myself as like the vessel, because I come from said environment, and if I could give my background, parts of my background, to explain that, it would really make sense to those who either don't understand it or even those who actually relate to it, and can like put themselves in those shoes. I know I'm stuttering a lot. Thanks. But that's it. That's the video. This is what I really wanted to speak of. How life can, have somebody stuck in survival mode, and acknowledging that, like the things that can lead up to that, and then we acknowledge it, hopefully being able to break that. And that's it. I'll see y'all in the next video. Probably be about housing or something. I don't know. I'm trying to upload these more and more with my phone, but also my good camera gear, which, hey, I got some things planned. Hopefully I can make them good. If not, I'll just get it done, as I always do. Deuces.